This is a 2014 Subaru Forester XT that I've got as a loaner for the day. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a review of the vehicle. I don't have a real extreme knowledge base on the Forester, but I had a Subaru Crosstrek for 2 years. It was a 2014 as well. And so I think that I've got kind of a unique perspective, having owned the Crosstrek previously, be able to share some similarities and differences between the two vehicles, and the two have a lot in common, and so there are a lot of features that are pretty similar between the two vehicles. So the Subaru Forester was first produced in 1997, and I believe this is the 4th generation of the Forester. They've made significant differences in the styling and quality of the vehicle during those 4 generations. And the Forester is much more impressive than the original kind of awkward Forester that was produced in 1997. It was really boxy and really more of a car than a crossover and SUV. And they've kind of identified it a little better over the last few years as the crossover segment has kind of grown. Now, the Forester's got a lot in common, like I said, with the Subaru Crosstrek. Now, the Subaru Crosstrek is based on the Impreza platform. The only difference is really being that the Crosstrek's got a lift on it, some slightly different suspension, and some body molding that gives it a little bit more rugged look. Now, the Forester's similar in the sense that it's also built on the Impreza platform. And so the two vehicles have a lot in common, or really the 3 vehicles have a lot in common. From the chassis to the dashboard, steering wheel, knobs, really the entire layout in here is exactly the same as what you would see in the Impreza or the Crosstrek. Now, where the Forester is really different is because of the Crosstrek and the Impreza hatchback having more of a slant on the back that gives a nice sporty look. The Forester, in exchange, comes with a lot more cargo space. So with the seats up, you can see that you get a lot of cargo space. You can get some pretty big items in there. Both seats on either side, by pulling up this knob, lay flat. And so you can get some really big objects into the back of the Forester. Now, the Forester also comes with slightly better towing capacity on the base model. And then this is the XT model, which comes with even more horsepower. So the difference between the base Forester, which has got 170 horsepower, that's the same engine you're going to get in the Crosstrek or the Impreza. The XT comes with a turbocharger, which bumps the total horsepower up to 250. Now, having owned a Crosstrek for 2 years, that was my biggest complaint about the car, is that it just felt really underpowered. I really wish that they would have added a turbocharger to the 4-cylinder in that vehicle. With the Forester, you get that, and it makes a huge difference. And I'll go over that in a moment when we take the vehicle for a drive. Now, you'll see in the back seat, we've got nice legroom, quite a bit of space in there. There's also a huge amount of headroom in the Forester. It's impressive how much there is. So you can see when I'm seated how much space there is from my head to the ceiling. Even more so, I'd say, in the front seat of the vehicle. Now, this Forester does come with a sunroof, fairly large size sunroof as well, much more than kind of the standard size. One nice thing about most Subarus is that they come with factory side rails, which makes it really easy to add an aftermarket rack or go with a Subaru rack on top. Now, with the XT package, I mentioned that you get 250 horsepower and the turbocharger. There's also some styling differences that give it a little bit more sporty look. So you can see on the front here, we've got some styling cues that give it a little bit more aggressive look. You get a different wheel package than the base Subaru Forester, which is really nice as well. Now, I mentioned the styling's improved a lot on the Forester over the years. It's still kind of a different look to it, and that's something that's unique about Subarus, is that they really kind of appeal to a different market that isn't interested in just kind of your average conservative styling. And so some people love them, some people hate them. It's definitely a little bit more controversial style than some other mainstream auto brands. Now, one of the great things about Subarus is that they come with all-wheel drive standard, which is really nice for inclement weather. It also helps with performance. So you can really feel on cornering the all-wheel drive system digging in. You can see with the Forester, I don't know whether this is the case or not on the base model, but you've got the dual exhaust, which gives it a nice appearance. Gas mileage is pretty good in the Forester. In the base model, you're gonna see about 33, 34 miles per gallon on the highway. Jump up to the XT and you're gonna lose a few miles per gallon off of that. Now when we jump into the car, you can see with the XT model, you also get kind of sporty seats compared to the base model. So you've got sort of the fake leather on the sides and then this kind of sport fabric down the middle. That's slightly different than what you're going to see in the standard model of the Forester. Now, I'm not crazy about the comfort of these seats. I've tried making some adjustments to them. It does have electric seats, and so you can adjust the height of the seat, you move it forward, backward, the tilt, but you can't adjust the lumbar support, and it feels just a little bit off for my preference. And so that's one thing that I wish that you could address with this vehicle. Now, just to go over some of the vehicle features, this one's going to be a little different. We can't show you too many of the features because there's an aftermarket Pioneer system. The base system that comes on these vehicles is pretty simple. It's basically you've got your radio, your CD, and not a whole lot more to it. Controls in the Subaru Forester are really simple. That's one thing that I do like about it, is they didn't get overly complicated with buttons or knobs or anything. You've basically got on the left side, you can control where you want the air to go. You've got your rear defroster in the middle if you just push in on that. Over here you can control the fan speed, circulate air within the vehicle if you choose, and then you can adjust the temperature from cold to hot and then press in the middle to control the air conditioning. So very simple, that's nice. If we look down here, we've got a feature on the Forester called X mode, and you can access that by just pushing on that button. Now, X mode is Subaru's basically four-wheel drive enhancement system. And so by accessing the X mode or putting that into play, what it's going to do to you is it's going to adjust a few of the vehicle settings, starting with engine throttle. So in normal driving, when the driver steps on the accelerator pedal, the engine throttle opens up. With the X mode, it doesn't open up quite as quickly. The other difference is that the transmission is going to stay in a lower gear, and so it's not going to shift up. It's basically going to stay in that lower gear so that you've got a little bit more engine power that can be delivered more appropriately for those off-road conditions. The all-wheel drive is also going to slightly adjust by raising the front and rear coupling force, and that'll help with the driver power being more evenly distributed between the four wheels. We've also got the VDC system, which when it's on includes a specially tuned enhanced LSD control. This system applies brakes only to wheels that are slipping. And then last of all, you're going to have hill descent control, which means that at lower speeds, say under 12 miles per hour or so, the vehicle is going to basically self-brake with the engine to prevent you from getting out of control going downhill. Just to go over a few other controls, you've got your emergency lights here, pretty simple gauges on the center dash, and then you've got vehicle controls here. So you can control volume, channel, the mode if you want to go between CD or radio. You've got Bluetooth, so there's push to talk here, so you can try to use those settings. Like most vehicles, that doesn't typically work real well. You can answer phone calls, hang up phone calls, and then over on this side you've got your cruise control settings for that. And then SI drive, I'm actually not familiar with that feature. I imagine that has to do with kind of a sport system for the vehicle. Over on this side you've got your power window, lock, mirrors, and you got your traction control button. Can adjust interior lighting, and that is pretty well it. Not a whole lot else In the center, you've got USB and aux ports so that you can put your music on through the system. We've also got a cord in the glove box that would allow you to do the same. So you got a USB there. One of the things I don't care for about the Subaru is the sound quality is not real good. I can't really give an example of that because of the copyright requirements for YouTube. So I do have a video on my channel for replacing the front tweeters. That makes a significant difference in the sound quality. So recommend going and looking at that video if you're interested in improving the sound quality in your Forester. So let's take the vehicle for a little spin. Now I mentioned that I didn't really like in the Crosstrek that just seemed like there was a real lack of power, and I was very impressed when I got into the Forester. I was expecting that it was just the typical 170 horsepower base model. Didn't really realize it was the XT model until I started driving it, and it really threw me off because, like I said, the Crosstrek's really underpowered. The Forester XT has got a lot of power. It's really fun to drive. Definitely would recommend going with the XT model if you're looking at getting the Forester and you care about performance. Crosstrek was just really difficult on mountain passes, interstate driving, merging onto freeways. Just felt really inadequate. You could really push the accelerator in and it would perform, but it sounded like it was just working really hard, and you don't get that with the Forester. With the Forester, you really feel like the car is capable of driving at a nice quick speed. The other nice thing about the turbo is it's fun to listen to. It's got a real nice whistle when you punch it, and makes the driving experience a lot more enjoyable than what you would get in the Crosstrek. Now, I'd say that the ride in the Forester is pretty typical for a Subaru, specifically kind of an entry-level Subaru. I'd say that between the Crosstrek and the Forester, it's pretty even. If you jump up to like an Outback or a Legacy, the ride's going to be a little smoother. In the Forester, it's a little jittery, kind of bumpy, and not really well refined, but it's not bad either. Nothing to really complain about. The handling is really good. I noticed it a lot more than I did in the Crosstrek, and I think that might be because of the additional power. When you go around the corner and you punch the gas, you get that instant response with the Forester that you didn't get with the Crosstrek. And so you can really feel the tires digging into the pavement and getting you around the corner. So I like that. Wind noise is one thing I'm not crazy about in Subarus. I feel like they could do a little bit more to prevent wind noise when you're driving at higher speeds. It's not, again, for an entry-level vehicle, it's not bad, but you're not going to get a real quiet ride like you would in higher-end models. So, again, that'd be an area where the Outback's going to be probably a better option if that's something that you value. The accelerator and the brakes are both really responsive. I like the feel on both of those. You get nice, consistent, even acceleration and braking. Now we're coming up to a stop sign, and I'll give you a little taste of the acceleration in the Forester. Hopefully you'll be able to hear the turbo a little bit as well and get a little bit of taste of that. So let me reposition the camera here so you can get a taste of that. I'll get the gauges in there so you can get an idea of the acceleration. Now the Crosstrek really would rev randomly when you're accelerating. You may not even be accelerating that hard and it would just jump up real fast. With the Forester, you don't really get that. So that's another area where I'd say Forester really shines. We're up to 60 miles an hour already. So you can tell that the Forester, like other Subarus, it is rev happy, where it really jumps up pretty quickly, gets those RPMs up. But unlike the Crosstrek, it doesn't feel like the vehicle's being worked overly hard, and it certainly feels capable of accelerating at that rate. We did get up to about 5,000 RPM, so it's still working hard, but typically you're not going to be accelerating that hard either. So when we get to the next stop sign, I'll accelerate at a more even pace just to give you an idea of that. And you'll see that it still accelerates pretty quickly without working real hard. All right, so as we come out of this roundabout, I will accelerate quickly, but not quite as hard as I did in that last acceleration. So you can see here, not making the engine work especially hard, accelerates really nicely. So, it's a fun car to drive. I'd say that it offers a really nice balance of refinement, good gas mileage, and performance. I think Subaru should definitely take the engine that's in this vehicle and offer it as an option in the Crosstrek. I think that there's definitely a market that'd be interested in that, specifically since the Crosstrek really appeals more to the kind of younger driver that's looking for a car that's a little sportier looking and driving. I think it's interesting that with the Crosstrek and Forester that they've got the Crosstrek, which is a little bit more sportier, but then is only available with the base engine option, and then you've got the Forester, which is a little bit more utilitarian, probably going to appeal more to kind of people that got kids and pets and need the additional cargo space and practicality of the Forester. So it's odd to me that they would put the higher performance model only in the Forester and not the Crosstrek. Specifically, when the two vehicles share so much in common, it'd probably be a pretty easy adjustment to offer that in the Crosstrek. But again, this is a review of the Forester, so jump back to that. Overall, I'd say that I'm really impressed with the Forester. I think that it offers a really nice balance of gas mileage, practicality, sportiness. Subarus are also really well known for their reliability and durability, and so that's a nice thing to be able to get a car that offers all of that. That's got the acceleration and that you can load a lot of stuff into the back and then drive it a little bit aggressively and have fun, and then at the same time still not have to worry about huge maintenance bills or repairs on the vehicle. Subaru Forester comes with a 4-year 50,000 mile warranty, which is pretty good compared to the norm in the new car industry. Prices on the Forester are really reasonable too. The Crosstrek, you can get a base model for between about $23,000 to $25,000. Forester is going to bump up a few $1,000s. You're going to pay slightly more, but again, you can still get one for well under $30,000. XT model is probably going to push you up more into that $30,000 range. So if you've got any questions about the Subaru Forester, leave them in the comments below and I will try to answer those as best as I can.